There are 70 documents on the Epstein files that mention the producer of Melania. They go way back. Brett Ratner, pictured with underage girls, and you know who, in an email to Jeffrey Epstein. Brett says hi and he loves you. This is talking about Brett Ratner. Can I tell you that literally so many people are involved in this? Mostly billionaires and extremely wealthy people, because Jeffrey Epstein had a $1 billion limit on the clients that he handled. This gets really freaking scary because the people with that much money have so much control over the world. We already knew that Bill Clinton was involved, but so is Chris Tucker and Kevin Spacey. No surprise there. We already knew Prince Andrew was involved too. He's mentioned quite a few times. He attended a party with young Russian models that Ghislaine Maxwell threw. But look at this one. Epstein's clients include the Queen of England. I always knew that something was super freaking sketchy about Queen Elizabeth. And it says some of the businessmen who dine with Epstein at his home include all of these people: Revlon chairman, former Microsoft executive, Donald Trump. We all knew this one too. I gotta say I told you so on this one. Sean Carter, aka Jay-Z. Pause to read this whole highlighted part. It's pretty disturbing. He has also met multiple times with someone named Eunuch Ernest, a man who has produced the Oscars, the Super Bowl, the World Cup, and the UN General Assembly. 100 documents, including Casey Wasserman. I don't know if that's how you say his name. He's an American entertainment executive and the chairman of the 2028 LA Olympics Organizing Committee. One of the messages between him and Ghislaine Maxwell said, "I will be in New York City for 4 days starting April 22. Can we book that massage now?" This one honestly just kind of spooks me because I know that these elite, corrupt people speak in code. Okay, you will not have to share with me either a cheddar cheese, a baked bean, or a KitKat. That's between him and Ghislaine Maxwell. What? This also says that Ghislaine Maxwell is heavily involved in some kind of internet company. I would really like to know what that is. Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, used to own our textbooks in school. I'm talking all kinds of textbooks. Medical textbooks, science textbooks. He owned McGraw-Hill. So we're talking senators, movie producers, Microsoft executives, huge internet companies, Hollywood stars, the president, the former president, multiple former presidents. It really makes you wonder, can we trust anybody in power? Us conspiracy theorists knew this was coming. We've been trying to tell y'all. The truth is finally coming to light, and honestly, it feels so good.
Is this Melania Trump's ring in the Epstein files? So this is all alleged, but people online have made some pretty shocking connections here. I want you to really, for a moment, examine this ring. Just take a look at the diamond and the cut, the shape, and take a look at that. People online have noted that it is almost identical to the ring seen in the Epstein files. I mean, it is identical. And in almost every single photograph and angle published of this ring, it appears, honestly, to be the exact ring that was located in the Epstein files. Now, if this is the ring that Trump gave Melania, it should be stated there's an interesting story behind. Apparently, Trump claimed in the media at one point, I believe in 2018, that he had gotten a $1 million discount on the ring. He stated he got this discount in exchange for publicity, but later on, the guy who sold Trump the ring to give to Melania later stated Trump paid full price. He never gave him a discount. He made up this $1 million discount to make himself look like some sort of big deal maker. It also should be noted that the guy who eventually owned the company that seemed to have made that ring also appears in the Epstein files. And Trump even stated at one point that he considers the guy who made the ring to be a very good friend. But regardless, this is all still conjecture. However, we do know that Epstein and Melania and Ghislaine and Trump were all friends. And for years, it has been rumored that Trump and Melania were actually introduced by Epstein and Ghislaine. I'm going to do a deeper dive on that this weekend as we are moving into the release of this film about Melania that is coming out, that's being directed by a notorious sex pest and a guy who's also in the Epstein files. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this? I did a really deep dive and I couldn't find any definitive answers, but a lot of people online seem to believe that that is the same ring seen in the files. Regardless of the box it's in, I guess, people are convinced. And regardless, every single thing in the Epstein files needs to be analyzed to the fullest extent. And if this indeed is the First Lady of the United States' engagement ring or wedding ring, whatever the hell, I don't even know what I'm saying, that would be absolutely major news, wouldn't it?
Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you are doing great from whatever you're watching me from. Now, Melania's past is now haunting her. She gets to realize that dining with the devil, you will come to pay for it one day. Uh, Remember just a few days ago when she released a documentary and she was really disappointed because people didn't turn out to go and watch. But what do you expect from such kind of scenario? 3 days later, a new release from the Epstein file, which shows a connection with all these brothers and sisters. Somehow, she is connected to the Epstein files, and which is making people to have backlash towards her. And her dark past is now being released because of the associations with the Epstein files. Now, there is a one key reference which happened in the year 2002, which involves an email exchange where a woman named Melania sent friendly messages to Ghislaine Maxwell, that's a Epstein associate, convicted of sex trafficking. Now, this email discussed a New York Magazine story about Epstein and travel plans, with casual signs of like Dear G. It is unclear if this was Melania Now's later Trump, who was a model at the time and married Donald Trump in 2005. Even if it was her, the content shows no wrongdoing. Only social correspondence, fact checks, and reports emphasize that such mentions do not imply participation in Epstein illegal activities. But brothers and sisters, we know very well that Epstein himself was not a good person. And for her to interact with these people, it means that there is something that we are not being told. Brothers and sisters, I want you to now get the part that we are not being told in the video. So brothers and sisters, stay tuned as you watch the video. I'll be back and then I'll be sharing my thoughts in regards to this. And as you know, I'm your host and presenter Hygienic Stories. But until then, let me see you at the end of this all where I'll be sharing my thoughts in regards to this. So let's keep watching.
And Wolf responded by suing her. And she's running from it. Trump's running from it. They're trying to fight it. And now the Epstein files have revealed what Wolf was basically going to come out with and say. Check this out.
That, they are not competent. And so they are releasing stuff I don't think they intended for us to see. Of course, Melania Trump is heavily implicated in this in a way that is kind of surprising. Maybe not surprising, but shocking.
Because your name appears. I'll let the people judge and form their own opinions, Melania. I'm just going to stick to what the documents say that Trump's DOJ produced. There was the October 23rd, 2002 email from you to Ghislaine Maxwell. Hi, G. I thought you didn't know Ghislaine. I thought that you didn't have a relationship. You had a nickname for her. You called her G.
Dear Melania Trump threatened author Michael Wolff with a lawsuit if he wrote about the nature of how she and Donald Trump met. And Wolff responded by suing her. And she's running from it. Trump's running from it. They're trying to fight it. And now the Epstein files have revealed what Wolff was basically going to come out with and say. Check this out. Well, here's the document. Here it is, where it says Epstein introduced Melania Trump to Donald Trump. Here it is just a little closer so you can see it. This is very good news for Michael Wolff, very bad news for Melania Trump and Donald Trump, because it proves they're liars and that they make baseless threats through lawsuits. Lawsuits they never fully intend to execute on. And now Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton have agreed to testify to the House Oversight Committee about their relationship with Epstein. Boy, how the tables are turning. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Like, share, spread the word, follow, subscribe, and I'll see you back here for the 411.
We have some news right now. The Justice Department is so incompetent when it comes to redacting these Epstein files. I just found the file. Melania Trump's face is redacted. But that's not all. Yes, this is a real document. That's a picture of Trump, Melania, Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell. Look whose face is redacted. Melania's. Why is that redacted? Unclear. That's a public photo. Get ready for this next one. And trigger warning here because this next one, graphic. Thank you for a fun night. Your littlest girl was a little naughty. Someone sent that to Jeffrey Epstein. Who sent that to Jeffrey Epstein? Why is this name redacted? Why are they talking about a, quote, littlest girl? And why is it redacted? Here's another one. Where are you? Are you okay? I love the video. Jeffrey Epstein sent that to someone. Who? Name redacted. Why is that redacted? Justice Department, explain yourself. I've gone through like tens of thousands of these documents, and every time I see more and more documents, it just becomes even crazier. Truthfully. Spread the word, follow for more.
Is this Melania Trump's ring in the Epstein files? So this is all alleged, but people online have made some pretty shocking connections here. I want you to really, for a moment, examine this ring. Just take a look at the diamond and the cut, the shape, and take a look at that. People online have noted that it is almost identical to the ring seen in the Epstein files. I mean, it is identical. And in almost every single photograph and angle published of this ring, it appears, honestly, to be the exact ring that was located in the Epstein files. Now, if this is the ring that Trump gave Melania, it should be stated there's an interesting story behind. Apparently, Trump claimed in the media at one point, I believe in 2018, that he had gotten a $1 million discount on the ring. He stated he got this discount in exchange for publicity, but later on, the guy who sold Trump the ring to give to Melania later stated Trump paid full price. He never gave him a discount. He made up this $1 million discount to make himself look like some sort of big deal maker. It also should be noted that the guy who eventually owned the company that seemed to have made that ring also appears in the Epstein files. And Trump even stated at one point that he considers the guy who made the ring to be a very good friend. But regardless, this is all still conjecture. However, we do know that Epstein and Melania and Ghislaine and Trump were all friends. And for years, it has been rumored that Trump and Melania were actually introduced by Epstein and Ghislaine.
Yesterday was a very bad day for Melania Trump. Her dark past is surfacing, and she wants people to believe that her film was a success when it was an utter disaster. By the way, the Midas Touch Network broke an exclusive that Trump faith-based leaders, and I put that in quote, were encouraging bulk buys in order to try to manipulate ticket sales. I'll get to that in a moment. But let's talk about Melania's dark past surfacing. So Melania, you can try to threaten lawsuits against people like Donald Trump's former biographer, Michael Wolff, or you could threaten lawsuits against Hunter Biden, but you're not scaring anybody. Michael Wolff sued you. You have not countersued him, and you've been running away as Wolff tried to serve you with the lawsuit. Then you rush to federal court and say that Michael Wolff's lawsuit against you should be dismissed because you've been dodging service of the summons and complaint. But as I mentioned, your dark past is surfacing, Melania. Your name is appearing in these Epstein files that your husband's DOJ that he weaponized released on Friday. Now, to be very clear, just because your name appears, I'll let the people judge and form their own opinions, Melania. I'm just going to stick to what the documents say that Trump's DOJ produced. So, of course, there was the document that I covered on another video. So let me do that one first. But then I'll show the document next that talks about Epstein introduced Melania Trump to Donald Trump. I'm reading from the document. I'm not attesting to the truth of the matter asserted. I'm just reading documents from the files, and I'm letting my audience draw opinions however they see fit using my First Amendment right. So there was the October 23rd, 2002 email from you to Ghislaine Maxwell. Hi, G. I thought you didn't know Ghislaine. I thought that you didn't have a relationship. You had a nickname for her. You called her G. You're also in photos with her. But dear G, how are you? Nice story about Jeffrey Epstein in New York Magazine. You look great on the picture. I know you are very busy flying all over the world. How is Palm Beach? I cannot wait to go down. Give me a call when you're back in New York. Have a great time. Love, Melania. So you had nicknames for Ghislaine Maxwell. You plan to meet again in New York, in my opinion, based on this email. And isn't that the New York Magazine where Donald Trump said Epstein is a great guy who likes women on the younger side? That wasn't a red flag, Melania. It wasn't a red flag that the Mar-a-Lago spa was being sent to Epstein's home a few miles down the road. Not a red flag there, Melania, because you were talking to Ghislaine during the height of a child trafficking ring that Ghislaine and Jeffrey were involved in. J.E., as you nicknamed him. Let's take a look at this other document, Bates number EFTA 159322. This appears to be a proffer to the FBI, and here's what it says. So-and-so put in contact with an agent named Paolo Zampoli, who worked with ID models. Now, these next few sentences are redacted. I don't think they should be redacted. The Epstein Transparency Act specifically says that these redactions are a violation of law unless it specifically gives the name of a victim. So does this label victims and survivors? Okay, well then let's read the next sentence. Zampoli was trying to buy elite models with Epstein. Epstein introduced Melania Trump to Donald Trump. So they're saying Zampoli wanted to buy elite models with Epstein here, and Epstein introduced Melania Trump to Donald Trump. I thought, Melania, you said Zampoli was the one who made that introduction. Was it Zampoli and Epstein? I'm just asking questions, as I have a right to do under the First Amendment. Goes on to say, Epstein was visiting Zampoli at the agency when there was casting auditions for models. Epstein was looking through portfolios and saw photographs of her wearing only swim bottoms. Blank and Zampoli were at nightclub with Epstein, who was there with a woman who believed was, and all this is redacted, someone called either a girl or Epstein and invited, this is redacted, to dinner, went to Epstein's residence on 71st Street in Manhattan. This was the first one-on-one interaction that seems like a Jane Doe had with Epstein. Epstein made her wait. She heard him playing the piano. Jane Doe did not recall if she went upstairs. Jane Doe and Epstein had dinner in the dining room. This was straight ahead. When you walked into his home, Epstein asked Jane Doe what she liked to do. Jane Doe told Epstein she liked studying and that she was a good student. They talked about travels and Jane Doe having a model contract in Japan and South Korea. Jane Doe mentioned that she thought there was a lot of Russian prostitution. Epstein told her, that's what I like best. Jane Doe recalled Epstein saying something that made her uncomfortable. Epstein gave Jane Doe a tour of the house, took her to the massage room, had her lay down, took out a vibrating thing, and rubbed it on her. Jane Doe told him to stop. Jane Doe described the massage room as small, very dark room on the same floor as the master bedroom. A driver took Jane Doe home, and she remembered being very tearful in the car. And the next morning or a day later, Jane Doe recalled that Epstein called her. Jane Doe was unsure how everything progressed from there. Epstein may have offered her an English class, which Jane Doe attended. Melania, why is your name on that document? Melania, why is it on that document, Melania? I thought you said Melania. Then there's this handwritten note in the Epstein file. Ex-husband put in contact with agent Paolo Zampoli, ID models, organized to come to New York to model, living at model's apartment, didn't have funds to pay own apartment, accommodate 10, same state as model agency Varick Street, had an affair with agent. He's trying to buy elite models with Epstein. He introduced Melania Trump to president, thinks he's an ambassador now. Jeffrey visiting Paolo at agency, casting for models, auditions. He, Jeffrey Epstein, left through portfolios. Jeffrey Epstein looked at mine when he was wearing bottoms swim. Melania, does everybody remember this article from the New York Times? When Donald met Melania, Paolo was there. He secured Mrs. Trump's visa to the United States and introduced her to Donald Trump at a 1998 party he hosted at the KitKat Club. Mr. Zampoli's parties have featured an alligator, tiger cubs, and models at nightclubs blowing kisses at fashion television cameras. So Zampoli owned his own modeling agency, and his agency brought in young ladies or girls, unclear the age, from Eastern Europe. Then these young ladies would go to the KitKat Club parties and meet wealthy men at the KitKat Club. That's how Melania met Donald. Melania's telling is Zampoli through this party at the KitKat Club. She says it wasn't Epstein. But it's interesting because if you look at these proffers and statements from the Epstein files, what they describe is Epstein and Zampoli wanting to merge their modeling agencies or work together to buy other modeling agencies. By the way, Trump owned modeling agencies at this time, and Epstein and Donald Trump and Zampoli were all kind of copying each other's modeling agencies. And Melania is mentioned in these reports. She's referenced in other files as well. In a January 21st, 2018 email between Epstein and Michael Wolff, they say the following: from Epstein to Michael Wolff, Achilles heel, Melania. Transcript: Melania focused on dates on Star, before birth of Barron or after. They also now have 2 armies of people escorting her kids to school. Friday, January 12, 2018, Jeffrey Epstein to Michael Wolff, holding up his shithole countries comment. His "I will sign whatever is put in front of me" clearly shows cracks in his mental state. Transcripts could drive him over the edge if Melania's story doesn't come out. How about Steve Bannon's messages to Epstein? Do you know Marion, Donald's new friend? Madeline Westerhout, very funny. Bannon goes, "She is the receptionist. Good kid, Grudon. Came from RNC." Epstein goes, "Knee pads. Doing God's work." Bannon says, LMAO. Epstein, "He's much more calm, but the sight of him in the residence in his undies is hard to fathom. I'll give you details when I see you." Then they go on to say, the 2 things he dreads at the moment is that an email from his ex saying he has a small and his transcript. The staying away from family over holidays is a huge tell. That's for Madeline. Whoa, wake up, dude. She has a way about her, saving the world in my view. Then we really need an intervention. And they are describing what they suggest is Madeline and Donald Trump. I'll let you read into it however you want to read into it. But Trump's personal assistant, Madeline Westerhout, was fired after alleged comments about Ivanka and Tiffany. By the way, here's Melania and Zampoli at the time. You see them right there. So that brings me, by the way, to this other piece of news right here, an exclusive that the Midas Touch Network brought. White House advisor pushed bulk sales for Melania movie. You know, Jeff Bezos put $75 million or more into this movie of Melania, and they're trying to brag that they're like, this broke records, $7 million it earned in its first week. That's not a good thing when you lose. I guess it's Trump math. Losing $69 million is a huge win right there. But here's what we're learning as well, Melania. Supporters are encouraged to buy group tickets and private screenings from a faith group, from a Christian group. It says, bulk sales of the new documentary, Melania, are being promoted through emails from the National Faith Advisory Board, a faith coalition led by Paula White Cain, who served as a senior advisor in the White House Faith Office. It says the film had almost $7 million from the opening weekend. There's Pastor Paula White Cain using her religious position to apparently sell Melania tickets. The message encourages supporters to purchase group tickets. Let's look at what the message was to all of these Christians who are part of this group who got the message. Melania movie in theaters. Let's support our First Lady. Book with your group. So it's like your Christian group needs to go and buy out theaters. I guess that's how you're going to become closer to God, right? Why supporting this film is important. For years, our First Lady's story was talked about, but never told, judged without being understood, and reduced when it deserved depth. Let's take this film all the way to number 1. And then it talks about buying out theaters for $1,500 and $3,000 and that will go to the ticket sales that ultimately get reported. Then Melania and Trump have their embarrassing state regime media, which calls itself Fox News. You have Kayleigh McEnany said, my mom went to see it. There was standing room only.
For years, the narrative has been that Donald Trump knew Jeffrey Epstein, but Melania was just the innocent girlfriend caught in the frame. But new filings claim that Melania was very involved in the social circle that preyed on young women. They allege that her introduction to Donald Trump wasn't chance. It was an arrangement. And most explosive of all, the claim that her first intimate encounter with the future president didn't happen in a club, but on the customized Boeing 727 known to the world as the Lolita Express. In this video, we are ignoring the $40 million propaganda film. Instead, we are opening the court files. We are examining the Alex Pretty backdrop that has the nation on edge. And we are going to expose the specific, terrifying details of the lawsuit that claims Melania Trump isn't trying to protect her reputation. She's trying to bury her past. To understand why this legal battle is so vicious, we first have to understand the PR disaster unfolding right now. It is January 2026. The Trump administration is facing the most intense civil unrest of the second term following the shooting of ICU nurse Alex Pretty by immigration officers in Minneapolis. The country is burning. And in the middle of this fire, Amazon MGM Studios decided to release a $40 million puff piece. The documentary, directed by Brett Ratner, a man who himself fled Hollywood years ago amidst misconduct allegations, was supposed to be Melania's coronation. But the authentic data shows a different picture. According to The Hollywood Reporter, tracking for the film is catastrophic. Box office projections are in the low single digits. Why? Because the timing is grotesque. Just last night, Melania hosted a VIP screening at the White House. The guest list? Mike Tyson, Tim Cook, and Brett Ratner. While the National Guard was deploying to Minneapolis, the First Lady was eating popcorn out of custom black and white boxes. But the real problem isn't the tone deafness, it's the counter-programming. Because at the exact same moment Melania is trying to sell us a story of grace and patriotism, Michael Wolff is selling a story of complicity and crimes. And unlike the movie, Wolff's story is under oath. Let's dive into the authentic legal data. This isn't gossip, these are court filings. In October 2025, Melania Trump's legal team sent a threat letter to journalist Michael Wolff. They demanded a retraction of his claims and threatened a $1 billion defamation suit. Usually authors back down. Wolff did the opposite. He sued her. He filed a declaratory judgment action under New York's anti-SLAPP laws, essentially daring Melania to prove him wrong in court. And this week, in a January filing, Wolff's team dropped the hammer. They detailed exactly what Melania wants to suppress. The core allegation is simple but devastating: the Epstein connection. We all know the official story. Melania met Donald at the KitKat Club in 1998 during a Fashion Week party. She was introduced by Paolo Zampoli, a modeling agent. Wolff's filing argues this is a cover story. Wolff alleges that while Zampoli was the face, Jeffrey Epstein was the engine. The filing claims Melania was part of what Wolff calls Epstein's culture of models of indeterminate age. These weren't just fashion models, they were the social lubricant for Epstein's high-power gatherings. Wolff claims that Epstein knew Melania well long before she was Mrs. Trump. He alleges that Melania was a frequent guest at the dinners where Epstein would scout for his friends. But here's the line that has the White House terrified. In the filing, Wolff recounts a taped interview with Jeffrey Epstein from years ago, tapes that he claims to possess. In these tapes, Epstein reportedly brags, "I was the one who introduced them. The first time he slept with her was on my plane." The implications of this are nuclear. If Melania Trump's relationship with the president began on a plane notorious for trafficking, if her introduction was facilitated by a sex offender who later died in prison, it recontextualizes her entire existence in the Trump orbit. She stops being the graceful First Lady and starts looking like something else entirely. A survivor, an asset, or a participant? Melania's defense is aggressive. Her lawyer, Alejandro Brito, calls these claims false, defamatory, disparaging, and misleading. They point to the fact that Melania's name does not appear on the flight logs in the same way the victims' names do. But Wolf's filing counters with a chilling argument: you don't log the inventory. This brings us back to the Einstein visa. For years, questions have swirled about how Melania Knaus, a catalog model with a modest portfolio, secured an EB-1 visa reserved for people of extraordinary ability, the same visa granted to Nobel Prize winners. Wolf's filing suggests we look at the sponsor. Who had the power to pull strings at that level in the 90s? Who was known for helping models fix their immigration status in exchange for access? Jeffrey Epstein. The "she was there" claim isn't just about the plane, it's about the parties. We have the photo from Mar-a-Lago 2000. Look at it again. Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, Melania Knaus. They look comfortable. They look like a quartet. Wolf argues that you cannot be very involved in that specific social circle in the year 2000 without seeing something. The massages, the young girls, the recruiters. Wolf's lawyers are demanding to depose Melania. They want to ask her under oath, did you ever see a minor at Jeffrey Epstein's home? Did you ever receive cash from Jeffrey Epstein? Did Jeffrey Epstein help you get your visa? This is why Melania is fighting so hard. In a defamation suit, truth is an absolute defense. If Wolf can prove his claims are substantially true, or even that he had good reason to believe them, he wins. And to prove it, he gets discovery. He gets to demand emails. He gets to demand diaries. He gets to demand the real story. Melania Trump isn't suing to get money. She is suing to stop the discovery. But by suing, she has triggered it. It is the ultimate legal backfire. You might be asking, why isn't this on the nightly news? That is where the 2026 reality kicks in. President Trump has revoked the press credentials of major networks. He has launched his board of peace with Putin and Orban, creating a new global media ecosystem that filters out negative stories. The Melania documentary is part of that shield. It is art as alibi. By flooding the zone with a $40 million movie, they hope to drown out the PDF files circulating on the docket of the New York Supreme Court. But Wolf is a rogue element. He has released the tapes. In a filing just yesterday, Wolf submitted a transcript where Epstein discusses Trump's preferences. Epstein allegedly says, Donald likes them young, but he likes them loyal. Melania was the perfect pivot. She didn't ask questions. She didn't ask questions. That phrase is haunting. It implies that silence was the currency of her marriage. And now that silence is being price tagged at $1 billion now. Melania has made a career out of being a cipher, a blank slate. But the "she was there" filing fills in the blanks with the darkest ink imaginable. It suggests that her coldness isn't a personality trait. It's a survival mechanism. If she admits she was there, she admits she saw the crimes. If she saw the crimes and did nothing, she isn't just a first lady. She is a witness who stayed silent for 25 years. We cannot separate this from the Alex Pretty shooting. The country is furious. The cognitive dissonance is breaking people's brains. On one screen, you have the first lady in a ball gown in her movie. On the other, you have a nurse dead in the snow. And in the background, you have court papers accusing the first lady of being created by a pedophile ring. It is a let them eat cake moment. But instead of cake, it's a cinema ticket, and instead of a revolution, it's a RICO case. Even the director, Brett Ratner, is part of the irony. A man accused of misconduct directing a movie about a woman accused of enabling misconduct, funded by a company, Amazon, trying to secure government cloud contracts. It is the Ouroboros of corruption, the snake eating its own tail. The Melania movie will be in theaters this Friday. Donald Trump says it is selling out fast. The data says the theaters are empty, but the courtroom will be full. Melania Trump tried to escape her past by rewriting it on the big screen. But in the United States of America, even in 2026, a deposition is more powerful than a documentary. If Michael Wolff's tapes are authenticated, if the Lolita Express allegation is proven, then the Melania we see on the screen is a ghost. The real Melania is the one in the court files, the one who was there. And for the first time in her life, she might have to answer the question, what did you see?
Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you are doing great from wherever you're watching me from. As you know, I'm your host and presenter Jidok Stories. Now, if you're getting to understand how karma is a bitch, is the recent flop that Melania Trump had. She expected a documentary to touch the world, to talk about all these things and, you know, talk about all these changes that she was trying to bring and build to the foundation of the United States. But you cannot convince people who knows you because people don't know her like that. In fact, as time goes by, the recent releases in the Epstein files really shows who really she is. And people are calling her criminal. And why? Because the things that she has done, all the things that she is associated with. Brothers and sisters, people add something to say about this, right? Somebody say that, I want to say something funny to you. I went to the email in Auburn, New York, where I live, and the move of Trump's wife, Melania, was not playing here either. I was asking people, and they told me that they would rather burn it in hell than to watch it. It was rolling, so even I thought we are a small town didn't reach here either. It was empty. We had plenty of Trump supporters that had flags and signs in their yards and their truck, but now not a sign. They marched through and protested against Trump, and so Trump's wives couldn't get this little town to play this odd mess, which makes them so much laugh. I think this person is trying to talk about the mess, the flop that the Melania documentary had. You understand that Melania is Trump's wife. They married in the year 2005. But the things that Trump has been doing, adding on the top of what the Epstein files indicate about Melania, a relation with sex trafficking. That tells you a lot. When you try put this combo together, it gives you something. It gives you something that really, really makes the citizens of the United States start thinking, who is really this person is? And right now she is receiving backlash because every of our past is getting to be received. And she cannot convince anyone about any of this because perfectly she did all of these. And we are getting to see how they ended up with Mr. Donald Trump. Somebody is saying that it will leave some stones untouched because there are still over 3 million files unreleased. And the administration have already said that they're not releasing any more of the files. So unless Trump loses in midterm, there's still a lot to be covered and not to be released. So the book goes on and on and on and on as it goes to shows the truth about what all these people are doing and all these activities that they had with Mr. Epstein himself. Somebody saying that these people did the same with Don Jr.'s book, Triggered. The RNC bought his book in bulk. Same thing they are doing with Melania's documentary. If you have to send out a group of messages to go watch a documentary, did anyone actually want to see it? That doesn't make sense. Somebody also came and said that as much as I don't watch she's doing, I believe Nikki about Jay-Z's owning her. I keep telling people nobody gets as rich as many of these millionaires and billionaires without taking from someone or something doing legal deals. Somebody's also saying that it's just blindingly obvious and a bit sad. Melania and Ghislaine get dragged around by these men also as blindly because they know this is just a tip of an iceberg. And anyone chosen by these people will be scared. Somebody's also saying that she traded her freedom from Epstein to with Donald and remained silent. It's common for those born into it. At a certain age, she agrees to be playing the SAHM role as long as they don't have to participate anymore. Some agree to give up their children in exchange for their freedom. I know someone who had this happen to them. He never knew he was a father because he was in the military, so she would give the babies to her parents who were traffickers. He didn't know she was even a victim herself. They agreed to leave her alone if she agreed to being a breeder of children. She was so detached. He found out he had 4 kids when the parents were busted. That's so much crazy and what was going on. Somebody saying, Nikki, you can enforce laws with violating innocent citizens' rights. I'm 77. And remember, INS coming into the hood, and I was raised in looking for people that overstayed their visas. Even now, America doesn't do their job with the courts. People that is following the law was taken into custody. Nikki's analogy is about someone in a house uninviting has no correlation to the processing of immigrants. Nikki is nuts, and I know nothing she raps. The scene I saw about her and the anaconda garbage, I knew she had nothing to offer. And now, definitely not America. Someone is also saying that black people get off these Epstein files. It's a distraction. We already knew the shit was going on. Leave that to the palm colored people. Remain focused on the rising of the original earth people. Stay focused. Leave the dead to bury the dead. Black people stop using AI. In fact, black people get the F out of social media altogether. In order to build our own community, we must invent other ways for only us to communicate. Social media and AI is a web of deceit. We knew this in the beginning of the World Wide Web, and the internet web catch is a prey. And so the same for a net. Simple, know thyself. So brothers and sisters, I really don't know what you think about this Melania case, but really tell me in the comment section what you think about this. And as you know, I'm your host and presenter Tech Stories. Let me see you on my next video. I'll be back with my thoughts in regards to this. See ya.